Walter. I mean, I have been really thinking a lot about this community, and I think in some ways you're more central to it than I am, but I have enough uh, presence to feel the benefits,
Good.
and just knowing, like, the first time I logged on to a chat, to a live in the chat, and people were like, "Hi, Stephanie." I was like, "What? What?
Yeah.
How do you know me? Do I know you? Like, what? You think my stuff that I'm saying is that important?" Like, that was like a revelational moment for
Oh,
me.
and that has been the silver lining. I see people are joining, so I'll just say hi to all the wonderful people. Thank
Hi,
you for
all.
joining. And today, yes, I'm here with Dr. Stephanie Wilson, and we've chatted a couple times, and it's always my great pleasure to talk to you. And we were just talking about I mean, that's the silver lining of this whole 380 days of crisis, 381, however many it's been.
Oh,
Just
I,
being able
I
to
don't know.
find
How many
people.
days are in 10 years?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, we had a little bit of a break. I mean, when
A
the
short
voters
one,
gave the
but we were
Democrats.
like, there was like this pandemic in between. So.
That was a break too. But I mean, I've actually reflected on that. Like the Biden, I mean, I'm so grateful that it was 4 years, even though, I mean, the voters gave the Democrats power to stop this and the Democrats didn't. But we did have that 4 years of reprieve where I could just enjoy my kids at a certain age, and at least now they're a little older. It's like, so I've been frustrated about that. But things go on. But yeah, we were just saying, back to the positive note. I mean, yes, your work is so important, and just seeing you out there, and it gives me relief because she's talking about it. At least somebody's talking about it, and that's what I meant by the title today. Truth is going to win here eventually, and we just don't recognize all the mechanisms that are suppressing it. But I'll let you
Um,
add to that. Pivot off that.
well, I'm gonna be a party pooper and say, um, what is truth?
Yeah.
And who owns it? I
Yeah.
just had a conversation last week with Rachel at This Women Votes, and we
Oh,
talked
she's
about epistemic war. And what that, really means is the information wars. Who owns truth? Who gets the same? Do we see the same truth? No, we know that. We don't see the same truth or the same information as 40% of the country. So that's why I think you're far more optimistic than I am, Walter, because there's this piece of me that's like, okay, well, if we can't get our shit together and understand, um, how we find a way to reach people, not helped by the fact that our national leaders are seemingly unwilling to stand up and fight for anything, bar maybe 5, 6.
yeah.
Um, I don't know. I mean, so truth is kinda iffy, but on the other hand, we have the tools to be the ones helping to disseminate it.
Yes. What a wonderful question, and it's so perfect. But yes, what is truth? And I'm going to argue truth is beyond what human beings can control. If your house is on fire and your dad's like, no, it's not on fire, it's not on fire, he can do that for a couple hours. Sooner or later, you're going to burn to death. So that's the truth.
Right.
And that's where we're at. And that's what I was thinking today. And I wrote an article about it. White supremacy dies in a bunker. That's
It does. It
yes.
does. Well, authoritarian in the end will die in a bunker or in a drainage pipe or on the end of a rope or at the other end of the barrel of the gun.
And
But
it's not us. They do it to themselves. We are the nonviolent. That's another important thing to always emphasize. That's the path they've chosen, and it doesn't end well for them.
no, it never ends well. So, one second. I have a sort of maybe kind of job offer from my brother.
Oh, good.
I'll call you after.
Yeah.
He said, "Maybe
Oh,
get a job, but the downside is working with me." I'm like, "Oh."
oh, well, thank goodness. I hope you get. I hope you have some financial stability. Oh
No,
man.
I was thinking this morning, I don't know, some of you have, like, seen it. I gotta, I gotta figure this out. Like, it $200 a month isn't cutting it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. No. Well, and I've been saying this to everybody. I mean, we just got to hold fast. I mean, an economic war is part of it. That's part of their control mechanism. But what I want everybody to really recognize, and it's like we've all noticed this. We've had abusive jobs, we've had abusive relationships, we've had abuse, and they always want to control the narrative. They don't want us asking questions. And it's because and you saw that latest interview with the vice president where he's just like, oh, ha, ha," and they kind of divert to like established norms, and all we have to do is not respect the decorum of white supremacy, which is what we all do. Like not calling for recounts in the election because that's like out of bounds, even though the right is even now demanding recounts from 2020,
They're
but we're
not
not allowed.
demanding it, they're taking it.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
like, I don't understand. I mean, there's so much, at least, whether it's evidence or whether it's a path to maybe find evidence, I really don't understand why there has been no effort at just checking and seeing if there were maybe shenanigans.
For
Because
2024.
for
And
24,
and
yeah,
but a lot of that is, and it's because those of us who are on the other side, a side of reason, we've all been pressured and indoctrinated not to speak the truth, as if it's impolite to speak the truth. We're not allowed to even ask questions. And it's funny because I've been posting, and I noticed that when I post about recounts in 2024, it gets the attention of the bots really fast.
really.
And what that tells me is there's very rich, wealthy people out there with a lot of power who want to suppress this narrative quickly. But we're at that point where we have all interacted so much with bots. I mean, they don't anticipate that human beings can develop this sense of it. But I've done it a lot. I've as a boost nominator on Medium, I know when something is artificial now, just in a couple words. And I know when something is true. And, Loretta Ross wrote to me. I didn't know who she was. And she asked for my phone number, and I gave it just out of instinct. And it turns out, oh, she's got a contract with Simon and Schuster. She's written this book. It's called Calling In. She quoted me in this book. But I didn't know who she was. I read 3 words of her email, and I'm just like, this is a kind person. And I sent her and that's how like my sense of this.
Wow.
And other people, I mean, it's like every now and then you step back and you're like, geez, we have developed. I mean, I've talked about this before, the uncanny valley. You've heard of that?
Mm-mm.
And it's
Tell
like,
me about.
if you make a graph, like if something looks 10% human, we trust it 10%. If something looks 20% human, we trust it 20%. You go all the way up to like 80%, we trust it 0%. And then at 90, it goes back up. So that's the unvalley and that's the
Yeah.
uncanny valley. It's because human beings have developed this instinct where if something looks really close to human, but off, we reject it. Like that's an evolutionary trait because at some point there was a predator that looked a lot like human beings, right? Evolution comes in and we're finding that with these bot comments that are suppressing us and they suppress our dialogue. And I'm finding it, we have to just, what we're doing here on Substack, what you and I are doing, what we've been doing this last year is helping to unlock people so they can get away from that false white supremacy, narcissistic decorum conditioning where we're like not allowed to ever say, well, actually, Dad, you beat the hell out of me. It's like, that's not a story we're ever supposed to tell. Well, we covered that. That was said. Now we have to focus on the good times. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, actually, yes, but, I come from there's some of that, where it's like, "Okay, the past is in the past, we're not gonna acknowledge that story we kept
Ha
telling
ha.
about you for 50 years." But there's also a piece of it in in the culture I grew up in, which is all about questioning,
Yeah.
and so that's so different from white Christian culture is like, "Thou shalt not question authority,"
Yes.
right? For me, like, it's all about, okay, what are the questions? We know that there could be good answers on either side, but ask the questions. My mentor told me, when I first started graduate school that you don't get what you deserve in life, you get what you negotiate. And, um, and so that's sort of a different take on all of that's going on. I don't know that it necessarily leads to a different place in the end, but, I hear you all the time saying, "We're not allowed to question, it's all silence," and from my cultural community, it's, uh, there are lines
Yeah.
that you don't question past, and we're at that fracture point, and we're gonna talk about that, next week.
Yeah.
But beyond that, like, you're meant to question.
Yes. Well, absolutely. I mean, a just society, one that's based on critical thought and reason, demands questions. And that's something, and exactly like you said, you go to from an authoritarian state where I grew up in things like that, where you're criticized for questioning, you're criticized for your curiosity because you challenge these people that are false. They're the house of cards. And the whole of the United States, I mean, yeah, there'll be pockets and like our personal choices and we are fortunate to grow up in communities. There's too many people that understand critical thought. And we're just reaching that level because I think the way this plays out is, we keep waiting for it's not going to end the way we anticipate that this is going to end. I mean, I think what's happening is just the truth is just becoming so obvious and more, and they can't, at the same time that they've been trying to flood the zone with their lies, they're also flooding the zone with so many contradictions that even people that were complete believers are finding themselves having to deal with this cognitive dissonance of seeing just endless contradictions at this point. So they're shaking it up, and it's
Yeah,
just there's a part here that's beyond our control. And we keep saying like the savior isn't going to come. But the fact is, if you deny truth, and white supremacy is an ideology of denying truth, truth just it sticks behind the dam, it gathers pressure and force, and then it blows through. And that moment is going to happen. And our job is just accelerate it to save as many lives as we can or stop as much suffering as possible
right.
between now and then.
Absolutely. You know, I always, you know, I don't know whether you guys think I sound like I'm a complete pessimist or realist
Well,
or,
you're realist. It's real. We
uh,
should be we should be pessimistic right now.
but there's a piece of me that's like, okay, they're consolidating power. Like, we can say all we want. Are we shouting into the void? But then,
Yeah.
you look at the chat and you see all these people that and we're not shouting into the void. We are building a move. I mean, the movement exists, but we're doing it together. And I was talking to Marlon yesterday and talking about this community, and he's like, "That's how we win," and he's right.
Yes.
That's how we win.
Yeah. And I have so many people when I'm just like, we need to be demanding recounts of 2024. And people will just, like I said, they come out of the woodwork. Well, what good's that going to do? How are we going to get any? And I'm just like, just the act of doing it is the win. Just demanding it, getting momentum for it, allowing people to talk about it. That's the win. It'll cause pressure just talking about it. So people do. They want to default to the fact that they can't see the outcome. I can't see the outcome either. But I know sitting quietly and just hoping it'll get fixed, that's how we lose. The more we speak, I don't know how we're going to win, but we are going to win because it, like I said, the white supremacy ideology is committed to lies and they just pile up. And at some point, they get themselves in a position. It's like the guy who tried to build a rocket ship to prove the earth was flat. And it's like, it's like, if you don't respect the scientific model, your rocket ship's going to blow up, So it's like, it's going to get you at some point.
Right.
Although that guy's
Gravity will
rocket ship
get you in
didn't
the
work.
end. The laws of gravity and science and the
Yeah.
universe will prevail. But the question is it going to prevail? Like, what's the event horizon here? Are we
Yeah.
talking, this is going to, happen in the next 2 years? I don't think so. It's going to happen in the next 4 years? I also don't think so.
Yeah.
So I think that we as Americans or as North Americans, uh, I'm not forgetting about you, you beautiful Canadian friends of ours.
Yes.
But we do believe we think in short chunks. Well, at least
Yeah.
part of it. Some of us think in short chunks. The Republicans apparently think in 50-year chunks, which is why they were here.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they've got their white supremacy narrative. They deny they don't even think of anything else. That's the only thing they think about.
Right.
So it's like, that's how that works. But I don't even worry about how long it's going to take. I mean, I just worry about what I can do today. And I think if everybody starts thinking that way, and yeah, I mean, because you said the word it's you're not being pessimistic, but it's just like I just trying to predict when this victory will happen. It's impossible, and it steals kind of my energy. That's sort of like why I've shut off the stats on my stat page. It's like I just don't even want to see who subscribed or unsubscribed today. I can't control that. I'm just going to spend all my energy working. And yes, and I think I think we'll hit it might be fast though. There's days, but there's days I wake up in tears and I'm just like, it's never, and then there's other days I feel really positive and feel semi-positive today. And the more people we can awaken to start just doing this, start just demanding it, just start openly saying that the Republicans are protecting pedophiles. It's and if we look at where we are now compared to like 2 weeks ago, think of how far we've come already.
It's unreal, and now that I don't know how I I feel like I only trust, Ellie and and her circle, like, Dev, um, but somebody has built this email-like application that
Yeah, I
sifts
saw
through
that.
all those emails, and I don't know whether that's legit or not, so if anyone in the chat knows, that'd be great. But, I just sort of know that she's on the job, and Zev's on the job, and Lev's on the job, and
Yeah.
Krasensteins are and Kate Justice, and I feel like we're in fucking amazing hands
Yes.
with them. Courtney says it's confirmed with tech ninjas. Oh, right.
Good. Good.
Good. Well, I wanna
Amen.
I saw I use, Facebook for, like, local stuff, and there's still a few people that are friends on there and whatever, and somebody said that they went in and looked at it, and then it was, really hard, and I was like, "You know what? I trust people.
Yeah.
I will hear it." I personally do not have the ability to I don't know how Ellie is doing it. I don't know how any of them are doing it and staying sane. She has 4 freaking little kids.
Yeah.
Um, I remember when my guy is 18 going to college next year, and, when I was pregnant, I stopped being able to watch Criminal Minds.
Yeah.
Like, I would watch all that stuff, and then I was, like, pregnant, and, like, I'm like, "I Criminal
Yeah.
Minds, they're always kidnapping a kid, I can't do this." So I really just
No,
I
I
don't
hear you.
know.
And I think yes, but I mean there's nothing in the Epstein files that could lower my opinion of this regime and the entire republic. I mean, it's like I know already. And so I think it's equally important, though, we have to just establish and awaken in our neighbors the willingness to be open to the truth. And that is where I keep saying combating that white supremacy decorum that we're all indoctrinated to just respect, like this idea. And I think it's really important because we've all been told we can't even ask for recounts of the election. And I've been interviewing the candidates who are coming up, and I just want them. It's like, will you pledge to recount pledge a hand recount for the next election? Because I don't believe in our election integrity. And that's and bit by bit, and it's like this is the thing where a lot of new writers, when I write something, I'll get a lot of negative pushback at times. That doesn't
Right.
mean I'm wrong. That means that there is an established social norm where people are trying to lecture me that I'm combating that norm, and they think I'm wrong. And you have to just be on it for weeks and you'll see the society begin to change, begin to be open to these ideas. I mean, the first guy who said Ignaz Semmelweis, who said, maybe
Oh,
if
he was
doctors
in that
wash.
show that I used that we used to, watch with the kids. Remember? Oh god, Magic School Bus, was it?
Oh, well, they had a
Oh,
guy
or
named that? But he's
yeah,
the guy who he noticed that more babies died in hospitals than in midwife, nurseries, and he noticed the midwives wash their hands. So he said, maybe the scientific community should, maybe doctors should wash their hands. Well, he ended up getting beaten to death in a mental institution because they just thought he was crazy. And of course, well, yeah, is such a thing as bacteria. So, so it's like, yes, we do kind of risk when you're going against the social norms, you risk this really hostile pushback. But at the same time, people want to, we have we are curious. We have that integrity in ourselves. We have that curiosity. And I've learned this from being a teacher. You go to a classroom in front of kids, if you start to BS them, they know. And I mean, it's just like we said before, the kids are like, "Ugh." The second you say the truth, and you can get 2 words in, if you can make that commitment in your heart to tell them just the truth, okay, I'm going to be real, they all shut up and listen.
right.
And that's what humanity is. But it's just that this mechanism of all the narratives is so controlled, are corrupt. publishing is corrupt, the media is corrupt, traditional media, everything is corrupt, and they try to push this false narrative. But what we have on our side is that innate sense, the creative, the uncanny valley, our evolutionary development for our own protection to understand lies. And the lies are getting too big for any system to maintain, I think.
I hope so. I wanna ask you, so, mostly I don't get bots, and although recently there have been, negative people in my feed, which didn't used to happen, and, if there's, like, somebody super negative, I just block them and move on.
Yeah.
How what is the tell?
Well, there's a couple things. Normally, if somebody comes on and it's like, look, I'm not the most famous person in the world, but I'm a pretty established presence here on Substack, right? And anybody who would be new to the platform, if they were going to try to engage me in conversation, they wouldn't come at me all haughty and call me a fool and start insulting me. I mean, that's just not logical. So obviously they have no actual investment in doing well on this platform. They're just kind of like, well, that's an absurd. And then it's just that I call it what's his name? Scott Jennings has resting white supremacy face
Oh,
from CNN.
yeah, oh, yeah, I don't watch very much, but he's like,
Well, that's a white supremacy tell. When somebody's like, if you're saying something, I'm just like, and it's like like not even allowing you to make your point without disparaging it with my facial expressions. Like, look, audience, she's out of her mind. And it's because, and that's what's really hard for those of us who agree with reason. I mean, if you're a scientifically minded academic person, you say, what about this? And then we discuss it. I'm not invested in this theory. It's like, here's an idea. This idea is not my personal identity, but maybe we should look at things this way. Let's
right.
talk about it. Do you see a problem? If you see a problem, that saves me embarrassment. And then we
Right,
defend
but
it,
there's
we
a
move
whole
on.
thing, the whole concept of, well, you have a hypothesis, which according I don't know, you have little kids, and I don't know if the TV has changed. So mine's already 18, but we watch Dinosaur Train all the
Yeah, yeah.
goddamn time. And
An
what is
idea
a
you can test.
hypothesis? It's an
Yeah.
idea you can test. And, James Carville needs to go
Oh, he's gotta
completely.
go. We gotta keep talking how he's gotta go.
He's
Yep.
gotta go. But a paleontologist Scott, um the whole the whole concept, like, that they kinda turned around. So with COVID, I listened. So my kid was actually in school, like, from the next school year, and we're incredibly privileged to have gotten him into a school that was really good for him no matter what, but
Yeah.
they everyone wore masks, they did all the things, and in 2 years, they had no cases of COVID
Yeah.
because
Wow.
everyone followed the rules.
Wow.
Um, but, uh, what the hell was I gonna say?
Well, you're talking about the difference between those who respect the scientific model and hypotheses and those that don't.
And those that don't. Oh, yeah, so I had to spend a lot of time driving him to school and driving him home and whatever, so I spent a lot of time listening to podcasts, and I would listen to, uh Slavitt, what's his name? Um, why can't I think this morning? Andy Slavitt, absolutely religiously, because he had all of, like, the best of the, um, public health people on, and things would change, right? Like, they'd find something new, and
Yeah.
then it would change. "Oh, we used to think this, now we've learned this."
Yes.
And
Yes.
then the right wing turns it around like, "You've been lying to us this whole time."
Yep.
I mean, come
Yep.
on, like, this is how things work. You learn things, then you add to your understanding, and then you maybe change behavior because you know
Yes.
what works better and what you don't.
Yeah, you just laid it out. That's the difference between the authoritarian model, which is just about sabotage and discrediting your opponent, versus the critical thinking model, where it's like maybe this. Oh, this works 80% of the time. How do we get it up to 90% of the time? Whereas, then the other side who are intellectually dishonest, they're like, well, you never knew what you were talking about because now you've changed it. And I mean, and that's getting back to that idea of established fact, because we unfortunately live in a reality where the white supremacy narrative is the generally accepted established fact in the United States. And so that's why we're in this, and that's why people like the president and the vice president, they can defer to these. Well, we all know dot dot dot, and it'll be a lie. And so it's up to us to question a lot of these things that people have been indoctrinated to think is established fact. And we have to do that because, climate change is happening and kids are getting tortured to death. I mean, what assurances do we have that kids are not getting tortured to death in these ICE concentration camps all throughout?
No, they're absolutely getting tortured to death, and that is horrifying. It
Yes.
is absolute and here's the thing, I mean, we've seen like in 2022, I worked on a campaign in Indiana, and something would happen like, a local public health official would say, "We can't use the word equity in public health because it's bad." And the candidate I was working with who, um, was head of the public health board, was like, "Do these people where's the bottom?" I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? We have so far to go to the bottom. Do you not remember? Like,
Yes.
the bottom is concentration camps, torture, death camps.
Yeah.
Like, that and the fact that we're getting there now or we're here is it's just so horrifying, and
Yes.
also
And
the
that we're
fact
not
that
talking about it. Yeah.
I mean, I think we are, but, um, like, there's nothing actually we can call our our representatives. Well, all my representatives are, already, it's Elizabeth Warren and Ed Markey, both of whom are great in the Senate, but they're too fucking old. They need to go.
Yeah.
Um, so, like I am so fortunate in my representatives, but at the same time, a mile and a half down the road, there's a big ICE facility in this really uh low key office park. It's just an office park. It looks like an office park.
Yeah.
And they recently got like 60 new SUVs
Yeah.
and right? So that's not gonna be good. And the flights so there's an Air Force base that's kinda half in my town, which is half in Concord, which you've all heard of, um, Concord, Massachusetts.
Mhm.
Even though most of the country was taught it was Concord, it's not, it's Concord. Um, so there's an Air Force base there and an airfield. So not only are they taking people and moving them via plane from there. I just read a local independent news outlet this morning saying that Epstein flew in at least 20 times to there uh, because he would go to Cambridge to talk to people at Harvard and,
Yeah.
where, it's all within 3 miles, 5 miles. And that's just
Yeah.
it's
It's
it
been
gets
going on.
when it gets I don't know, there's something about geographic proximity that makes it grosser.
Yep. Yep. No, I understand that. I'm like an hour and a half out of Minneapolis, and it's like I felt bad about horrible about Portland too, but it's like, but then it's ice coming into Minneapolis. I wanted to mention I got distracted for a second. I had to go block Bob
Oh,
the
good.
free radical.
Yeah,
So I
Bob
took
did.
a second. I don't know if there's an easier way to do it when I'm right directly in the live chat. It doesn't seem like I can hover over an account and block it, but I'm just, and guys, I apologize when stuff like that happens, but that's a bot account. Seems like a bot account to me.
Right.
Starts coming in with his BS and it just distracts us from talking when you got somebody spewing misinformation in the chat like that. I need a moderator.
Oh my god, I need a moderator so bad. Like, I need a producer and a moderator. So, like, if you guys most of you are actually already, paid subscribers, but, like, producer and a moderator, I could produce so much more content. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
my pitch.
we're getting there, but I think, and I just want to kind of keep, because this morning when I was just sitting there thinking about it, and it's like I was reflecting on, yeah, the white supremacy dies in a bunker, and it's just like it just these people are so weak, and that's the thing we keep having to remind ourselves, especially in those moments when we're feeling depressed. They constantly go on the offensive because all they have standing behind them is a house of cards They know a stiff wind will knock it down. And just the just complete weakness of this regime, how weak they are. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, it really is frustrating, all these things that they're trying to do, but none of it is based on a factual interaction with the real world, right? They have no skills. So it is all doomed to fail. And yeah, eventually all narcissists, that's how the relationships I've been in were narcissistic abuse. It's always the same. They scream at you, scream at you, scream at you every time you even bring up a reasonable question. So if collectively as a society we just start screaming back, and that's what we've been trying to do here on Substack, pointing out these truths. I mean, people get all mad. Like the farmers just got what, $17 billion bailout. It's like we can't give a bailout to kids going on their student loans.
Mhm.
And that just shows how corrupt social media is. Because my feed on social media was just full of people complaining about kids having their student loans forgiven. There's not a peep about the billions that went to farmers. Not a peep. And so all you guys hear in the chat and stuff, it's just so important to understand this is the reality. We need to be getting off all of the corrupt social media platforms for one thing. You just don't realize how much that is toxic for your thinking. But then just make that deliberate choice bit by bit to overcome this white supremacy, this false decorum of white supremacy. And it's like you're in a relationship. Oh, if your husband goes on a 2-week business trip with like one of his coworkers or something, and he's out of, it's like, well, something suspicious there. I'm gonna come and visit you. Oh, you can't do that. It's like all these whole things where they're pressure you to just abdicate your power. And this whole movement of white supremacy is built on us abdicating our power because they're so afraid of the truth. But the truth is becoming so obvious right now that maybe beyond anything we do, I think there might be a collapse. It might happen that way.
Uh, yeah, I mean, the the truth will come out. It depends on who will believe it. I mean, uh, later today, I'm doing the Anti-Fascist Book Club with Nick Perro and Chris Goldsmith and Tara Devlin. And we're talking about the last chapter of Ruth Ben-Ghiat, which is the endings, right? And all of these authoritarians end uh, by, somehow getting caught and killed or killing themselves. But on the way to that, they become more and more and more dangerous.
Yeah.
And they'll start wars, as we've seen,
Yeah.
to put off, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we got to keep getting that out. And I was talking to who was I talking to? Uh, I don't remember. Who was saying, oh, I was a guest on Corey Nathan's Talking Politics and Religion Without Killing Each Other podcast. Came out on
Wow.
Tuesday. And he said, I feel like we need to reach out to those people who are like, are, iffy, and maybe they're coming out and we can't be like, why the hell didn't you get here sooner? Like, and I get that. And he said, I feel like we're just talking to ourselves. And what I wanted to explain is we need to be talking to ourselves
Yes.
because ourselves are the ones that go out in the real world and talk to other people. It's like that you need to like talk to the choir because the choir needs to sing,
Yeah.
and out there in the real world with people that they know in real life.
Yep. And we have to familiarize ourselves and be prepared for their tactics. And these rhetorical tactics of white supremacy are always the same. I mean, the other day, that interview with the vice president, where the guy's like, "Are you going to apologize to Freddie's family?" And he's like, "For what?" And he's like, and then he was saying, "Well, you're building hypotheticals on top of hypotheticals, and I should reserve my opinions until after the investigations are done." And that's when the reporter should have said, "But you've already made a statement. You already spoke. You already violated that." And part of it, though, is that authority conditioning. When they get in there and they start swaggering and they're like, well, and it's like, I'm not going to do this. And it's like, you've already violated what you said. And we are reluctant to make those statements. And so much of this is taking that extra step. We can't respond, because they're trying to provoke us It's just like it's any abusive man. They'll get all puffed up. They'll make themselves bigger. They'll start doing this. You see men doing that, and I just and it's like ha, ha. If you start laughing at them and you take the wind out of that, do something they don't because they expect you to cower, and we just have to tradition or condition ourselves to not respond that way. It's like these white supremacists. It's like they're constantly putting us in check. They have no other idea what to do. They put us in check, put us in check, put it because that to them is control, but they don't have any perception of the larger strategy and how they're ruining the whole board because they're constantly being aggressive. And that's what people have to awaken themselves to understand. But we're still, to a large extent, the society is in that, well, oh, daddy got mad. I need to be quiet. It's like, no, daddy got mad to hide the fact that he's wrong. And you need to recognize that and press him on how he's wrong. So that's the kind of, this is ongoing though. It's easier said than done. I'm not going to have illusions about that.
Right. I mean, again, I watch clips on social media, but when
Ah,
Caitlin Collins tried to really push on Donald Trump, he did what right?
yeah,
He said, "Why don't you
distract.
smile?" Just straight to the misogyny. And, um,
Yeah. Yep.
and I think, that's their playbook, right? They go straight to did you I don't I saw this morning that Trump, put something out on Truth Social with the Obamas
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
on
I heard about
on
Zuri mentioned it, yeah.
yeah, it's somebody actually posted the picture. It is so vile and so disgusting. Um, and but the lashing out is part of the playbook,
Yeah,
to push it as far as they can go, and then so they can push it farther. Like, what will people accept? And if they
yeah,
accept it, they go farther. If they accept that, they go farther. Like, it's all a test to see how far they can push everything.
and he does stuff like that because he thinks he puts us in check when we're angry, see? And that statement he made, "You should smile more," designed to provoke anger, because when that part of your brain that controls anger is activated, you become irrational, and then they can win. The other day with Eric, I mean, I was feeling stressed out. I just started like dancing. I was just dancing, and I've been reflecting on this because it's like this has been another hard week. But I have this kind of response. If you react with silliness to bullies, and I've done this a lot throughout my life. We saw that in Portland too. They're out there and they're inflatables dancing. The fascists hate that
They
because
do.
you're goofy, but now you're still rational, and it's so important to just mock. We got to just mock them, and really, everybody. I mean, this is gonna work whether you're talking to your teenage kids about dating, if your partner starts getting all hostile. If you cower, now you've surrendered. If you start laughing, if you start taking I've diffused a lot of situations with really hostile people just by laughing at them. They don't know how to react. When you start doing that, they don't know how to react. So humor is and it keeps you in control. It keeps you from being provoked into something that doesn't represent who you really are. But it just really, yeah, dance party. See, the boys wouldn't do that with me. They were all sitting there. I'm going to make them do that the next time I get together with them. We got to dance. I find myself doing it a lot. I'll be in the car just like dancing away. It's such a good release of energy, but it also keeps you in control of your reason. Dance party, somebody said. But that tactic is important, and it's always the same tactic. Whether it's bots, they're trying to provoke you, and because they say something that's just disrespectful. They make like this. You're wrong. They'll just start it with that. That's like the trigger. That's the pilot light to put you in a place where you aren't capable of responding to them right. So that's how they control us. And just speaking back the truth, maintaining our sense of humor, recognize like, oh, I see what you did there. You're being a misogynist asshole again. Okay, let's go back and not talk about, me smiling more and instead talk about the fact that your whole party is covering up for pedophiles. How about that?
Right. Actually Reagan did it, and this is what some of the messaging people are suggesting now is, "There you go again." You know? There they go again. They're
Yeah.
being misogynistic and racist and all the things. That's who they are. There they go
Yes.
again.
Yes. And Eric's right. Because he did dance with me a little bit yesterday. So I apologize, Eric. I didn't mean to lump you in. But it's like how a teacher, if you're a teacher, this is how you deal with a bully, or you deal with a kid that's being disruptive. It's like, oh, so and so, he thinks he's funny. Come on up, let's all laugh. I used to do this to kids. I'd bring them up and make the whole class laugh at him, and then shut him right up. I guess it was kind of mean. This is my first year, but they stopped being disruptive in my classroom. Everybody point him and laugh, ha ha ha. It's like, now shut up and listen to somebody who knows better. So there's a lot of tactics we have to employ. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not into public shaming, so
Well, I am when it comes to guys that are, openly
yeah, but
there's
those
some
people
cruel
don't
stuff that
really have
happens.
shame. Like, they don't
He
have
does. See, I think that's a because I think the guy who is in the Oval Office is the most self-loathing human being who ever walked the earth. I think we saw it in the debate against, Kamala Harris. He comes apart, and if you start mocking him and publicly he all he does is publicly shame everybody else, and he should be publicly shamed for the things he says. And for us to think, "Well, we shouldn't respond," it's like, what you're saying, what he says is shameful. It has to be stopped. And it's getting kids killed. And it's getting, and it's like he's covering up for these horrible people. So I think we have to give ourselves permission. What you said is valid, but I mean, some kids, bullies beat up on kids. We got to stop that too. And we have to. I've seen some, like an example is in my class, a teacher recently, one of the kids in my daughter's class was just like bragging about what a great job ICE was doing. And the teacher felt that she couldn't respond to that. And I think you do have to call it out. Like, it's beyond politics to respond. You have to call out and tell the truth about what's happening. So I don't
yeah,
know. Yeah.
yeah, that's
They
driving
can
my
help
kid
us.
crazy too. There are kids that are MAGA, and he first of all, he has a low tolerance for people who are fucking around in class.
Mm.
Very low tolerance,
Well, it's so unfair to the other kids that are trying to work hard.
right? But then he's like, "How can they think this? Like, where are their values? Are like, they're so," you know
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
decided not to go on a class trip because he would be surrounded by those people, and he just
Yeah.
didn't think he was gonna be able to, spend a month with them.
I think, but there's some interesting, but I think a lot of this is part of that indoctrinated white supremacy decorum. And like the first time I brought this up the other day too. The first time I got the crap kicked out of me on the bus, right? The school bus. Get the crap. Then you go and like, well, can we stop this? And the authority figures are like, well, you must have done something to provoke that. It's like people don't just come up and attack you for no reason. And so then it's basically I have to defend and that's everything in the every survivor of any kind of abuse ends up having to defend themselves.
Right,
And if I am in a position of authority and I see a kid abusing another kid, that kid, the abuser is getting shamed. If I have that power, and I think, yeah, we have that tendency. And everybody now is saying too, well, we have to understand their point of view. No, all they believe is this BS white supremacy narrative that is disconnected from reality. Yeah, we live in a society that only listens to the viewpoint of oppressors and only victim shames, right? That's everything, and that's how we got this corrupt and abusive president. So just using the truth and invoking our own right to stand up for integrity and decency and defend the powerless and put the bull and shame the bullies for a change, I think is a nice way forward.
um, I wish I believed they could be shamed.
Yeah, I think yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah, let me think about that one. I
'Cause
think I think they can be humiliated.
they
Whether
can be
it's
humiliated,
yeah,
but
and
can
I
they
think that
be
takes the power.
I think that's true. I think, like, in Portland where they had everyone was dressing up, that was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Mhm.
But, in places like Minneapolis, I was just talking to, uh I'm teaching a class on empathy-based leadership, and one of the students that I'm coaching is at a college, an hour outside of Minneapolis, and they're, taking people off the streets in her town, and and, like, they're at a point where dressing up like a unicorn isn't gonna cut it, but they're doing great work like mutual aid and getting food to people who don't wanna leave their houses and all of that kind of stuff. So, um, I don't know. I I think that most of us are doing the right thing, and as you always say, we always say there's more of us than there are of them. It's just a
Yeah,
question of timing and the damage they do in the meantime.
and yeah, and I was kinda glancing too at Lefty's thoughts and, like, this I think the word isn't yeah, public humiliation isn't what we want, but we need to expose the reality of what's going on, this expose the disruption. Yeah, I think yeah, I mean, I was being semi-facetious, but I did point at a kid, it's like, "Let's laugh at him, he's making a joke." But we were kinda good buddies, this kid and I anyway. I think we limit ourselves, we limit our responses. We limit our responses to what and we put these restrictions on ourselves about what is appropriate for us for how we should respond. I think we always, always, always have to stand up. I mean, in a relationships with abusers, they become really nervous about like disclosure or exploration. When you're like, all right, let's re-examine all these things that have already been established. They really don't like it. They don't like what's going on now with the Epstein files because it's going to expose like abusive people create a narrative and then they demand that we all live within that narrative and that we all respect and we treat away from that narrative. And then they put it in terms because essentially they spend all the time humiliating us. We are the ones who are constantly being publicly shamed, right? So we just turn around and say, wait a minute, every accusation is a confession. It's you, it's on you. And then they get it's like, well, how can you be so mean? I thought you were the people of tolerance. So I
Well,
mean,
and
all this
that's
stuff is kind of on top of each other. Yeah.
right, and that's why I think part of the reason why elected Democrats at the national level are, like, unwilling to wield power. It's driving me absolutely fucking nuts that they're like, "Oh, y let's have some decorum. Let's do things the old way. Let's" no, like, fucking stand up and fight. And
Yeah.
I was telling Marlon, he's like, Chuck Schumer got into the Congress when I was 2 years old. I am 53.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But, um, but before him, there was Harry Reid, and he knew how to wield power. And I don't understand why we're not I mean, we're demanding that our elected officials wield power, and they're not doing it, which obviously means that we need to be, uh, trying to get other people into office. Um, but it's driving me insane that they just can't, like, stand up for something and keep standing up for it. Just
Yeah.
the people out here we're out here putting lives on the line, dying
Yeah.
for right? Dying for truth and
Yes.
fairness uh, and equality, and they're just sitting there saying, "Oh, well, we can't be mean, you
Yeah.
know, we need 435 congressional House seats, 35 Senate seats, 36 governorships."
Oh,
Like,
that's the next election, the midterms. That's a lot of governorships. But and a lot of it too is like people are critical of your tactics, but then they aren't really fully aware of what you're dealing with, you know? It's like and that's I mean, the black community has been talking about this because this has been their reality for the entirety of the United States. And it's this I was watching an interview with Malcolm X the other day, and he was talking about how the Klan burned down his house and then they killed his parents. And the interviewer started talking about, well, doesn't that kind of distort your perception of the and it was like of the white community? And it's just sort of like, how dare you ask that question? And the people, I mean, people are quicker to say, my tactics are wrong than they are to embrace the reality that little kids are getting raped and murdered, and we live in a society that doesn't enable that. And all of our tactics that we use and a lot of our preconceptions are a white supremacy decorum designed to protect white supremacy. There was a case a couple of years ago about these police officers who broke into this house. There's like 4 police officers who broke into this house somewhere in the South, and they raped and beat these men. And it was just this horrific case. I'm reading about this. This isn't national news. We've had all these cases of people getting, I mean, there's been lynchings. There's been all this series of lynchings where they're calling them suicides, even though they found these black men hanging with broken arms and legs and they called it a suicide.
Suicide, right?
And this is the thing that deserves some public humiliation. Like the person who says that needs to be shamed and humiliated. And the fact that well, it's like, I agree with you, but your tactics on this, Walter, are, out of bounds. And it's like, yeah, let's not, it's like, let's not easy because people already have those lines in their mind. Like, we can't do this. We have to, and this is the scientific method again. Those lines in your mind got us here. We have to challenge those thoughts. We have to evaluate and move forward. And there just are cases where, it's not the only answer is, oh, why did that bully hit you? You must have done something. Maybe that bully is just a completely evil person and he needs to be taken out of the system. Or like in the classrooms where I've taught, you have poor kids. This is their only lifeline to a better future. If they don't get an education, they're going to die in poverty. And some rich little entitled jerk is being so disruptive that they can't learn. And I'm supposed to just listen to his point of view. That's not acceptable, and it's like you have to do whatever you have to do to stop the abuse, and we're talking about, like the Democratic Party would come across a man raping a child and be like, gee, sir, why don't you tell me more about why you're doing that? And it's like, you first have to stop that atrocity from happening. And I think that's the flip we have to switch in our brain.
The flip we have to switch?
Yeah, the switch we have to flip.
Well,
I got distracted by a comment, but yeah, that's my brain.
There's a whole line between Court and Beth about penises. It's kind of funny. I think we need to draw a line between the elected officials in Washington, we, the grassroots, opposition, whatever we're gonna call ourselves, the resistance, and what's going on in the states, because that's different in all the states. In some of the blue states, like, our governor's just done some really awesome things to limit ICE, legally in
Mhm,
the state.
mhm, mm.
But in other places, in the red states, they're complicit, but they've been doing,
Yeah.
like, it's not news there. They've had supermajorities for so long. They've been doing all this shit without, people outside of their state really understanding, and then there are lots of people resisting within the states, but they need to, you know, elect more people for the state houses. So I think we have to make a distinction between what's going on inside the Beltway, where I think people are so insulated and they have no idea
Yeah.
about the grassroots, and they look at us like they pat us on the head and say, "Oh, nice
Yeah.
job, guys!" Like, maybe you're important because you vote, as opposed to saying, "Well, you're important because you move opinion."
Yeah.
You
That's it.
know, you do the work. You're on the ground. You are the center of everything as opposed to the periphery that needs to be manipulated.
Mhm. Yeah. And the red state atrocities have been going on in plain view. And this is another, we just have the Republicans just cheat. They openly, blatantly cheat. And they've rigged all these elections in all these red states for a long time. And, it's like, I keep thinking about our Democrats are voting. A bunch of them voted to fund ICE. We need to pressure them to go visit these detention centers. What are you voting for? And it's like, and it's like a lot of people, if you're in Minneapolis, yeah, the people out demonstrating in front of ICE.
Oh,
But
don't
if you're
forget to
not in
call them
Minneapolis,
concentration camps. They're not detention centers.
yeah, yeah, they are. That's what they are. And we have to be telling our representatives in all states, the ones who are voting, we should be protesting at their homes and insisting they go to the concentration camps and ensure, and we should be making this part of our dialogue because people will tell me that I'm being offensive by asking, what assurances do we have that ICE agents aren't raping, torturing, and murdering children in these concentration camps? and that is considered an inappropriate question by the rules of white supremacy decorum. And if I was to say that to Caroline Levitt, she would flip out at me and start yelling and get mad, right? Or throw me out of the room or have me arrested or show violence. So if it doesn't work to talk to her, we have to talk to the Democrats. Like, why are you voting for this? And but in even in saying that, I'm going to get this an overwhelming amount of resistance to even asking those questions and applying that pressure. And that's the switch we have to flip in our brain, where
Flip.
people
It's the
actually start to
flip,
do it.
Walter.
Yeah.
It's the flip we have to switch.
Yeah. Oh God, I gotta just let it out. I mean, otherwise it just it becomes like rage.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
Bring it on. Yeah, it's like it's hard not to get lost in the rage.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
it's also hard to have the balance of we're doing this because what we do actually produces hope and and courage is contagious. So we are actually models for a lot of people. But on the other hand, we have to, and I'm not so good um, at this compartmentalization, figure out how to get the fuck out of bed in the morning.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I vacillate between, oh, I want to do more, I want to write more, I want to be more, and then I'm like, oh, but like, no, I really don't. I want to like crawl into bed and not come out.
Well, take your rest, Stephanie, and then you make me worry about you. I mean, definitely, and don't feel bad about that. You have to take your rest. You have to have your moments of recharge. 10-minute walk does a lot of good. But I also do, and it's like, I think we get that sense that we're not taking this seriously if we're laughing about things. But that laughter is our big weapon here. We have to, because that fends off the fear and keeps you in the reasonable state of mind.
Right.
And it's something I guess only in the last couple of days reflecting on the extent of this, because I just get goofy in certain high stress situations. I start giggling, but that's kind of my reaction where it's sort of like, and it's like, eh, and then it can be because I mean we were talking about I'm thinking about that now because you've made me think about it. But I've pointed out to people the things that they've done that are errors, but I can do it in a way that is funny, So it's not like this cruel humiliation. I'm thinking about what Lefty Prof says too, because I think about what people say, and you're just sort of like, come on now, that's ridiculous. Let's all join the party and we laugh rather than us being angry. So there is a strategy there, and I guess I'm just kind of starting to formulate it now. Thanks to talking to you, I'll have to write more about this as I think about it more.
Well, you know, I was starting to think this morning I need to write more, and so that's how I think oh my god, that's a big comment. I don't even know how to
Yeah,
read it all and talk at the same
yeah,
time.
we need to promote that stuff. What they're saying, it's essentially just more visibility to the human. I mean, it's a humanitarian crisis. What's going on right now, and we all have to be talking about it.
Oh, yeah, and we need to be using those kinds of words. We're not.
Mm,
Like,
yeah,
we're
yeah.
with this American exceptionalism that we're somehow
Oh, that's gotta
different.
go.
It's gotta
Yeah,
go. It's ridiculous.
yeah.
Um, so, yeah, it is important to laugh during the dark times. Yes,
Yeah,
as
well, just the
we
absurdity of what
spiral.
they're trying to push on us too. We're kinda closing in on time. I can go a little longer. I don't know how busy you are, but if you have to rush, we can start closing up or trail off a
I
little
have
bit.
a few more minutes, so
Okay.
we can keep going
We
if
can just have kind of a detox period. It just it's always so wonderful to talk to you. Get me thinking, and there's just so many things to approach here and to work on. But I do feel like, yeah, there's no way. It's like the bigger picture is what they're trying to do is going to fail. It absolutely, with 100% is going to fail. So we don't really have to sit and predict when it's going to fail. We just have to accelerate that process. Yeah, close out with jokes. Close out with jokes or a couple laughs. Maybe another dance party.
dance, dance
Yeah.
party.
You know what? That helps so much too. Just give yourself, because so many people don't give themselves permission. And just that little movement, just doing that a little bit. And yeah, it's like there'll be times and it's like I can just change. I find my brain just goes into like fantasy mode. It goes into this other place. Uh, a lot of my life. I mean, the reason I'm a writer is because a lot of time I just send my brain away and my body, whatever is happening to my body happens without my knowledge. But it's like that is a reaction, and I mean, yeah, we're up against extreme stress right now and extreme hostility. take those moments and find the laughter. You have to laugh with your kids and appreciate your kids. Like I've been saying, my kids are in high school and it's the only high school time I'm gonna get. This is like peak parent time for me. Hard
Yeah,
to believe in that.
harsh oh my god, I have so much to say about high school and how we, like, do our kids wrong.
Ah, yeah,
And, like, you put so much pressure on them, like, so much pressure, especially the high achieving ones.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
like, they don't know how to stop,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like, they have no idea. They're like, pressure, pressure, stress, stress must be productive at all times, except when I'm completely disassociated and watching some
yeah,
ridiculous show on TV that, like, somehow, and I think, especially with high school students, they were like middle school during the beginning of COVID, and that's another conversation entirely. But it messed with their resilience in some way.
yeah. And and then they get pushed because then they turn 18 and they haven't been prepared to avoid life destroying contracts, and then they
Holy
get
shit, like,
preyed on.
mine is 18, and I'm like, "You must call the pharmacy yourself." Well, how do I do that? "Will you sit next to me?" "You must have a portal yourself." "Well, I can't deal with that right now." "You must make
Well,
the" like, adulting, like, it has to be, like, we have
yeah,
to teach these kids how to adult, and, like, I got home, like, when he's coming home, he drives, great, awesome. He gets home himself to and from, awesome. But I was taking a nap, my husband was on a call, and, like, he kinda came home to basically an empty house, and he's 18, and he, like, felt the need to, like, have some interaction. I'm like, "Dude, I was coming home on my own in, elementary school because I didn't have a choice. Like, you're 18."
oh, and but I mean, it's that's another place where we get kind of cornered as parents. We kind of succumb to expectation, and we're up against the wall too. We got like all adults. It's achieve, 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 achieve. So we're it's all kind of like this. It's all kind of gets together. I know my daughters. I was talking to them and my eldest because I'm like, she's been so she's brilliant and she's been taking all the advanced Spanish classes and the school's got it set up where she'll be taking college classes next year
Wow, that's
and I'm
great.
just like, take all the AP classes you can. And she says to me, it's like I'm cheating the system. I'm like, yes, because the system is corrupt. That is what you need to do. You always but that feeling is, if I'm doing these things outside of what that that rutted pattern, and that's how our thinking has to be too in this response to fascism, because we're in that rutted pattern. And we think, well, we'll wait to the midterms. That's wrong.
Yes.
We have to disrupt. So I guess this is kind of closing out in kind of a nice way. And this is what the flipping the switch in your brain. If I said it twice right. But yes, and we have to just recognize because you're a brilliant person. And but it's like, and I question these things all the time, and still I am subjected to these ruts that are indoctrinated into our thinking. So before we know it, we're like stuck in this place. It's like, damn it, now I'm controlled, because they kind of pushed you, and because we're conflict averse, we don't want to engage in conflict. We just kind of go where they guide us,
Mhm.
thinking we're making free choices, but we're still, oh, I just don't want a conflict. I don't want a conflict. I don't want to, oh shit, now I'm stuck. And
Right.
they constantly put us in check. So we lose our autonomy that way too. And those are all the things we have to overcome. And so examine all the things you have assumed to be true and challenge them. And it's like just take that other step.
Always question the assumptions.
Yes, and that's so hard. I need everybody's help. And actually, the wonderful comments today were making me rethink things here in real time and just coming up. So that's and your comments too, Stephanie, were. So that's super helpful. That's the process we need because I'm not married. My identity is not these things I believe. We can separate, and that's what white supremacists are. Their identity is this nonsensical narrative of their own superiority that they believe, even though they have no evidence and they can't even assemble a Lego set of two pieces, but they think they're the champions of the world. So, yeah. Ending on laughter and dancing.
Yes. And, the conversation's sort of getting to parenting, and, um, and I really wanna, like, have a couple of conversations on here about, like,
Yes.
real talk parenting, particularly, the kids in AP
Oh
classes
gosh.
and the ones who went through COVID and are maybe anxious or socially, like, not as socially with it as they would have been had they had different experiences. And so that is part of my plan. Your kids are high school too. Like,
Yeah.
we need to have that conversation, and because it's not separate from the conversation about fascism. I mean, there's part of that conversation, like, how do you send your kids off to college when there's fascism? But then there's also, like, how do we behave and think and learn in this space where our whole worlds are kind of different and plans are like, you can't plan a fucking thing. You have no idea. I mean, I
Yeah.
learned that from the pandemic, right? Like,
Well,
plans are ridiculous. But
plan and escape from the United States. I think that's the best thing. I mean, there's places you can go and get a free college education. If you qualify, if you keep your grades up, there's no reason I don't think getting into college debt in the United States makes any sense for
mm-mm,
kids right now.
mm-mm,
One
no
thing
debt.
I say is my wife, uh, she got her degree in Peru. We got it accredited in once we moved here. And I mean, it was so I mean, getting it accredited costs like $250, and you can get it for pennies on the dollar. I mean, everything. And it's like already hi, Nick. There's Nick. But I
Oh,
mean,
hey, Nick.
healthcare, things like that. And this is just not a sustainable society anymore. So plan an exit for your kids. I'm hoping that we're gonna see a resolution. I don't think the president is in good health. I think the pressures and the truth that's coming out, I think we're a lot closer than the end than anybody, but it's like it doesn't matter. Like we said, don't waste energy predicting about when the end will come. Act with integrity every day. Yeah, and then when it comes to your kids, what I've been doing lately, people have been laughing, but I've been reading them The Demon Haunted World by Carl Sagan. And it's actually been tremendous comfort to me because that's a book that gives you permission to use the scientific model, and it explains it in very clear language. My eldest is a sophomore, so she's been interested by it. But like he tells stories about like when they in 1870 when they thought there were canals on Mars, and just how these absurd ideas kind of build. And then the other thing we did the other day, we watched. Do you remember the TV show V from the
Oh my god.
80s?
Yes. Oh, yes.
I threw that in. Like sometimes I do things without fully The Demon Haunted World by Carl Sagan. Sometimes I do things without entirely understanding why, and I'm like, let's watch V. And we're watching it, and it's about this alien force that comes. It's like, we're your friends. We're here to help, and we'll share our all of our technology with you. But then they're like, oh, gee, there's this conspiracy of scientists who are against us. So for a brief time, we'll be arresting all the scientists. And it turns out this book is based on It Can't Happen Here by Sinclair Lewis, written after World War II, or this movie is written after World War II to show how fascism rises. So watching that film from the 80s with my kids, I mean, it's all out of date and the special effects don't work, but it's just sort of like walking them through the rise of fascism so they can see it in a way that it's not just me complaining about things because they get to their, oh, daddy, kind of point.
Yeah.
But these conversations are so important. Like, keep them out of debt. Even if you put off college for a couple years, tell them to go spend a year in South America or something rather than because you can do that for almost nothing. And if they can take some classes and get some credits and learn a foreign language, do that. And like you said too, I mean, because our society is designed to squeeze every little bit of life out of us, not let us enjoy any of the profits. All those profits go to oligarchs. And there's no reason for us to live like that. So yeah, I mean, helping our children and giving them a means of responding or not getting caught up in that cruel death funnel that we're all like standing on the brink of.
Okay, I gotta dance. Cruel Death Funnel just doesn't do it for
Yeah.
me.
It's not gonna take me. I'm dancing on the edge of the cruel death funnel. Yeah. Well, yeah,
Every
yeah.
time one of us says something that's just absolutely
Horrible. Yeah.
horrible, like, the response is
Dance.
dancing. I mean, maybe that's, like, writ large. They say something horrible, and we start
But
dancing,
I'll do
like,
that. I will just start moving like that sometimes when people are saying things and it's just okay, all right. It's just disassociating. You do have to do it. But yeah, the fear controls you. You have to do what you can to stay out of that fear.
yeah,
That fear's not good for
absolutely,
you.
and watch Andor. Watch Andor.
Mm. I only saw one episode. Yeah, I gotta watch that.
Oh
Man.
my god, Walter. You've got to watch Andor.
All
It
right.
is
I'll
one
watch
of
it
the
with the
best
kids.
shows of the last
Yeah.
2
I've heard that.
decades.
I've heard that.
It's
And, you know,
unbelievable.
we were talking about this the other day. how like even I mean the original Star Wars is an anti-fascism film, but it presents fascism in a way that's cartoonish. And I think that's been our fault. And the same thing is true in US history. We don't teach the atrocities of the slave era. We don't teach about the rape, the rape centers because once they cut off the slave trade, they just raped women to create
Yeah.
a new slave. And some it was William Spivey. I don't know if you've talked to him. You should talk to him.
Mm-mm.
He was
No.
talking about in that era. He does a Substack and he
No,
concentrates
no,
on
I know who
history.
he is. I would absolutely love to talk to him.
Oh, we'll arrange it. And he was talking about how they used to send out trade magazines. It's like here's the magazine, here's to get the most productivity, a baby every 2 years, and this is the way to do it. I mean, the level of depravity that we've covered up and it's lingered, and that's the fundamental sin. And we either obliterate white supremacy or it's going to obliterate us. I mean, it's this toxic thing. Dance, dancing the white supremacy away. We bye bye, bye bye. Yeah, it goes. Yeah, break it out, break it out. There's no reason
I
not to do
always
that.
end up, like, finishing my conversations on some really, like, awful, like, "We're gonna die. We're all gonna die. Things are terrible, and, like, this is how I'm gonna have to do it." Be like,
Do it, do
every
it.
time I hear it, "We're in a death funnel."
Dance, but we're dancing all the way down. At least we're enjoying the ride. There's the Grateful Dead song. Yeah. And it gives us our power back. And that's the thing. The only thing that guarantees surrender is silence and not speaking out when we see a lie. We have to combat every lie.
That's
And
right.
everybody on this, I mean, the people on the chat have been great. I mean, there's so many questions. Oh, I don't know if it. All right, good, good, good. Keep doing that. Keep laughing and dancing.
I wish we could save the chats and then go back
Yeah,
in.
I wish we could. I do my best, but they distract me, and then I get words flipped around and sound like I'm out of my mind. That's okay.
We are all out of our minds right now.
You gotta be a little bit right now, but yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
All
that's
right.
we're closing up. Why don't you sell yourself for a second so people that aren't subscribed already can subscribe?
All right, guys, I have Freedom Over Fascism fireside chats every Tuesday and Wednesday. Uh, you can go to freedomoverfascism.us or just click on subscribe wherever you can subscribe. Would definitely love paid subscriptions if you could do it. Lots of people in this chat already have. Buy me a coffee, whatever. On Mondays, I do Chronically Ill and Out with Beth Cruz and Nick Perro and Soso. And on Friday, I do Anti Fascist Book Club with Nick Perro and Christopher Goldsmith and Tara Devlin and whoever else we get. So yeah, come find me. And if I said something that really resonated, just DM me and we'll talk. I want to start talking about all sorts of things I haven't been talking about. So
Perfect.
love you all.
Yes.
Thank you, Walter,
Oh, thank you. I hope you feel a
so
little
much.
better. Feel
Yes,
empowered. Feel empowered. Good.
yes, I
And I
do. And thank
appreciate
you for having me on.
Yes, I appreciate so much your thoughts and your brilliance, and just give me time. Now I gotta go for a walk and reflect and think about these things. And yes, anybody who's not yet a paid subscriber, please. My pipes just burst in my basement. I was telling Dr. Stephanie about that before.
No, just Stephanie, Stephanie, no doctor.
I like the doctor. I like to just be like overwhelmingly respectful of all women at all times, just because
Okay.
it
All right,
irritates
fine.
the white supremacist
Okay.
doctor. So
I
thank
will
you.
accept that.
But yeah, my
No,
pipes broke.
lefty.
Yeah.
The flash dance waters, you have to be a certain age to
Oh
remember that.
god, yeah, but it's nasty gray water. Wait, that would be that would be I guess there is a webpage for that. It just doesn't have me, but yeah, anybody, yeah, it's okay. It's not a big deal. But yes, please help me pay for my pipes. All right, dance it out, dance
All
it out.
right,
Thanks
dance it out.
everybody.
Ah.
Have a great weekend. We'll see ya. Keep
Bye, y'all.
resisting.